students of Standard 10. Welcome back. Yet another session of the history. Today the main point of our discussion will be the formation of the Muslim Leagues, its objectives and aims. So before we come back to the factors that led to the formation of the Muslim League, we'll just take a look back to what are the different events that took place before the formation of the Muslim League. We know that after the revolt of 1857, lot of disturbances took place. But if you go back to the history, the Hindus and the Muslims, though they fundamentally differ in their interests, nevertheless they lived in peace, even before the Britishers came to India. So the Britishers tried to find a discord between the Hindus and the Muslims for their own political gain. So they just tried to divide the Hindus and the Muslims on communal lines to gain their benefit. So therefore, this is outcome of the formation of the Muslim League is an outcome of the British trying to play in religious norms against the Hindus and the Muslims and trying to get the maximum political benefit out of these two communities. Because they very well knew that if both the Hindus and the Muslims are united, their days in India is numbered, and therefore they tried to divide both the Hindus and the Muslims on communal grounds and rule the entire nation. So what are certain factors that led to the formation of the Muslim League will be the topic of discussion in today's chapter. So let us analyze what are the factors leading to the formation of the Muslim League, which was ultimately converted in 1906. So we'll analyze each point by point for your reference. The first is the revengeful attitude of the British towards the Muslims. During the revolt of 1857, both the Hindus and the Muslims they fought together. But after the revolt of 1857, the British tried to divide these two communities on communal lines to get the maximum political benefit of them. So what they did is they began very repressive policies towards the Muslims, and the Muslims were deprived of their past glory and honor, and so they suppressed, the Muslims are suppressed by the English. They were not given high post, and this agitated the Muslims, and they felt that their sole reason was the British, and so they felt against the British. That was one reason, that is the revengeful attitude of the British towards the Muslims. Then the policy of divide and rule. The British followed a policy of divide and rule by dividing these two communities to get the maximum political benefit out of them. So they went and told the Hindus their grievances by the Muslims and vice versa to the Muslims, so that they created a gulf between the Hindus and the Muslims, so that they became bitter enemies of each other, and in return they will get the maximum benefit. Because as I told you, the Britishers very well knew that the moment the Hindus and the Muslims are united, they cannot stay in India because their days will be numbered in India. And so they tried to divide these two communities on communal lines so that they can rule for a longer period of time. Yeah? Then the teaching of history. So the teaching of history also created another setback to the formation of the Muslim League, because the English began to interpret the facts and figures about the history. It is believed that the ancient period they predicted as the Hindus, and the medieval period they gave the Muslim period and the interpretation on the light of the religious background. So there they appreciated the Hindus as the rulers, where the Muslims as the invaders and traitors. In this way, the interpretation of the historical facts created a discord between the Hindus and the Muslims. Clear? The next is the effort or the role of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was a very social worker, educationist, and a well-renowned freedom fighter. But he was of the opinion that when the Britishers would leave India, much of the politics will be dominated by the Hindus, or the Hindus will be the upper hand and Muslims will have no power. And therefore, this thought convinced Sir Syed Ahmad Khan that their political structure after the Britishers would leave India would decline. And therefore, he told the Muslims to remain aloof from the Congress, and he started the Aligarh movements or the Aligarh politics. That means he believed that the Muslims would be a lower hand compared to the Hindus when the Britishers left India. So one of the quotes, as I like to tell you about, the same thing what Sir Syed Ahmad felt about, just I am reading. Nawab Waqar ul Mulk said in a speech at Aligarh in 1906, God forbid, if the British rule disappears from India, Hindus will lord over us and we will be in constant danger of our life, property and honor. So this statement he gave, and this aroused the Muslims that their political gain would be nothing, and Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was convinced that when the Britishers would leave India, Hindus will be the upper hand, they would be dominating the maximum politics and Muslims would be crushed. Therefore, he advised the Muslims to remain aloof from the Congress, and he also told that the Hindus and the Muslims, they fundamentally differ each other and they have their own interests and objectives. So the role of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan also played a very major role in the formation of the Muslim League. Next, the religious tinge in the expression of the militant nationalist. The militant nationalists, they were very assertive, and so what they did is, that means they gave a religious tinge, that means they praised the rich culture and heritage of India and aroused the people to follow the path of nationalism. And many of the militant nationalists like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he revived the Ganpati festival and brought a glory to the ancient culture. To the Hindus, Shivaji was a hero, so they popularized Shivaji as the national hero, and also Arvind Ghosh also popularized the ancient Vedic culture and revived of the past glory of Indian culture to infuse the feeling of nationalism among the people. And therefore, the religious thing that they gave was also responsible for the rise or the formation of the Muslim League in 1906. So another point we'll take a look at it is the educational backwardness of Muslims. The next point is the educational backwardness of Muslims. As we know that the Muslims they did not accept the Western education because they felt that it was beyond their culture, and so therefore they remained educationally backward because they did not adopt the Western culture and they remained backwardness. And for this, they did not receive higher education, and so they were educationally backward, and the government kept the reserve post for the educated Indians only, and after the revolt of 1857, many high courts were not granted to Muslims on the context that they were not qualified or they were not educated, and therefore the Muslims felt that they were a discarded lot for not giving or not getting any opportunities in their trade or in the government employment schemes, and they held their backwardness, the British, the sole responsible for their backwardness. As a result, they became hostile towards the British because the Muslims were hostile towards the Western education. They did not accept the Western education, whereas most of the educated Indians they accepted the Western education, their thoughts, their philosophies, and studied, and they were able to compete for the various jobs. And therefore, the economic backwardness, or the educational backwardness of the Muslims also created the formation of the Muslim League. Clear? Next, we have the economic backwardness of India. So I told you, the economic backwardness, most of the Indian industries were shattered. The cotton industries almost declined, and there were no jobs left because the British did not pay any heed to the development of the industries and factories. As a result, there were many job seekers, but very few jobs left. And as a result, the economic backwardness forced the Indians to rise against the British. They felt that their sole backwardness was the British. Their progress was not made due to the British faulty laws and policies. And therefore, the resentment sent across the whole nation that the economic backwardness of India was due to the British policy of faulty laws and administration. So these were the facts that led to the formation of the Muslim League. So the Muslim League was formed in 1906 with the objective to safeguard the interest of the minority Muslims. Okay, so we'll see what were the objectives behind the formation of the Muslim League. So the objectives behind the formation of the Muslim Leagues I have put up in this chart. I hope it will be clear. The objective of the Muslim League. The first was to spread loyalty among the Muslims towards the British. So that's to show the loyalty among the Muslims towards the British. And secondly, to prevent disharmony between the Muslims and the other communities, as the Muslims felt that they were being tortured or there were disharmony, and so the objective behind the formation of the Muslim League was to prevent disharmony between the Muslims and other communities. The third point is to protect the rights of the Muslims and promote their social and economic interests. So the Muslims felt that they were economically backwards, and they felt that to protect the rights of the Muslims and to promote their social and economic interests. Finally, to put forward their problems before the British. That means so that the British would hear their grievances and listen to that. The formation of the Muslim League was the main objective then. So therefore, they felt that by showing the loyalty to the British, and the British would give certain concession to them, and they would rise up in this. Therefore, the main objective of the formation of the Muslim Leagues were this. But if you see that the formation of the Muslim League was a great success of the British policy of divide and rule. Why we can say? Because the British government showed discord between the Hindus and the Muslims by showing the Muslim the special favors. So therefore, according to the part of the British, the formation of the Muslim League was a big success because it sought the purpose of creating a wedge, creating a discord between the Hindus and the Muslims by showing favors towards the Muslims. But nevertheless, it was not a true fact, because many of the Muslims who were of the good sense or were educated Muslims did not like the objectives or the formation of the Muslim leagues. They were against it. They were having the religious thing, they were having the religious nationalism to fight for the nationalism. So in short, we can say like Badruddin Tyabji and Firoz Shah Mehta and many other nationalists, including Muhammad Ali Jinnah, they all had a nationalist feeling. Abul Kalam Azad also had the feeling of nationalist feeling, but they were not trying to have separate tendencies of communism. So in short, for today's point of discussion was the factors promoting the growth of nationalism and the immediate objective of the, growth of or the formation of the Muslim League, the immediate objectives. So this is all we have in our syllabus for today and today's discussion. Coming up next would be the emergence of Mahatma Gandhi in the Indian politics gave a new dimension towards the national movement in India. That would be the point of discussion in the next topic. Till then, take care of yourself. God bless you.